slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
It all started with a sound. Not the sound of a beat dropping in a packed arena, not the cheers of fans chanting his name. This sound was different. A single, deafening gunshot, echoing through a quiet neighborhood that had no idea a legend's life was ending behind those walls. Moments before, he had been full of anger, heartbreak, confusion, and love. The kind of love that blinds you, breaks you, and makes you forget that not everyone in your bed sleeps with loyalty in their heart. He was a star, a man who turned his pain into poetry, his struggles into hits. But that night, there were no cameras, no lights, no beats to drown out the silence. Just him, his truth, and the betrayal that shattered everything. They called him a hero of the streets, a rapper who gave a voice to the voiceless. From rough beginnings to sold-out shows, he built an empire with his words. His songs weren't just music, they were survival stories. But fame can be a mirror. It shows the world what you want them to see, and hides what you pray they'll never find out. Behind the success, behind the money and applause, there was a love story. At least, that's what everyone thought. He had the dream, a beautiful wife, a home, respect, power. Until one night, he walked in on something no man should ever see. The rumor mill says he had been suspicious for weeks. Missed calls, late nights, messages that disappeared faster than they appeared. Friends told him to focus on music, to ignore it. But something inside him said, no, not this time. So he came home early. And that's when the mask fell. The love of his life, in the arms of another. And not just anyone. Someone close enough to know his routines, his heart, his trust. They say he didn't scream. He didn't fight. He just stood there, a man watching his whole world crumble in silence. But in betrayal, silence can be deadly. Minutes later, a shot rang out. Then another. And when the neighbors rushed out, all they saw was flashing lights, blood on the tiles, and a dream gone cold. As news broke, the internet exploded. Headlines everywhere. Popular rapper shot dead after catching his wife. Tragic end for rising star. Love turns to murder. Fans couldn't believe it. Some blamed jealousy. Others whispered about setup, revenge, and secrets even darker than the affair itself. But one question still echoes. What really happened that night? Because behind every headline lies a truth the world isn't ready to hear. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, we'll uncover the rise, the betrayal, and the tragedy of a man who had everything and lost it all to love. He wasn't born a star. In fact, he was born with nothing but a voice, and a hunger to make that voice matter. In the dusty streets where he grew up, dreams were luxuries few could afford. Most kids chase survival, not stardom. But even as a boy, he had rhythm in his blood. He'd tap on tin cans, freestyle with his friends after school, and scribble lyrics in torn notebooks that smelled like sweat and rain. He'd tell anyone who would listen, one day, the whole world's gonna feel me. And the crazy thing is, he meant it. His first taste of recognition came when a local producer heard him spit at an open mic event. The crowd had gone quiet, not out of disinterest, but awe. His words carried pain, truth, and fire. That night, he didn't just perform, he confessed. Every verse felt like it came from somewhere deeper than talent. It came from survival. From there, his rise was steady and unstoppable. His songs told stories of broken homes, love turned sour, betrayal turned to strength. He became the voice of the streets, the reflection of a generation that had seen too much, too young. People connected with his rawness. He didn't sugarcoat anything. When he rapped about loyalty, you felt it. When he talked about pain, it was your pain too. Fame found him quickly. Radio play, collaborations, shows, fans screaming his name. He was everywhere. Billboards, playlists, interviews. But even with all that success, he stayed grounded. He'd go back to his old neighborhood, hand out cash to kids, support single mothers, pay for studio time for young artists. People said he never forgot where he came from. That was true. But deep down, there was one thing he feared losing more than his fame. His peace. Then she came into his life. She was beautiful, charismatic, soft-spoken, the kind of woman who could calm a storm just by looking at you. They met at a music video shoot. She wasn't just another pretty face. She had ambition, drive, and a mysterious charm that drew him in. Within months, they were inseparable. To the world, they looked perfect, the rapper and his queen. A match made in music and heaven. Their pictures flooded social media. Matching outfits, luxury trips, late-night lives full of laughter and love. He wrote songs about her, love letters turned into melodies that melted hearts. She was his muse, his calm in the chaos. Fans admired their love story. Men envied him, women adored her. Together, they were unstoppable. But fame has a way of showing people's true colors. Behind the smiles and filtered photos, cracks began to form. He was on tour often, working late, surrounded by people with hidden agendas. She, on the other hand, had her own world. Friends, parties, secrets he wasn't always invited to. At first, he brushed it off. He trusted her, believed love was enough to silence rumors. But whispers have a way of finding their way into even the strongest hearts. He started noticing changes. Her phone always faced down. She stopped answering his late-night calls. When he asked questions, she brushed them off with laughter or irritation. "You're paranoid," she'd say. "You're too busy to notice me, and now you think I'm cheating?" He wanted to believe her. He really did. After all, she had been there before the big checks, before the awards. She had been his ride or die, or so he thought. Then came the messages. One night, during a long studio session, one of his close friends pulled him aside. "Bro, there's something you should see." A few screenshots later, everything he believed about love shattered. Messages. Photos. Late-night calls that weren't to him. The man on the other end, someone he knew. Someone who had been to his house. Someone he'd called brother. The betrayal hit him harder than any lyric he'd ever written. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about trust, loyalty, and humiliation. The world saw him as strong, unshakable, untouchable. But in that moment, he was just a man watching the foundation of his life crumble beneath his feet. He didn't explode, not yet. He became quiet, withdrawn. His close circle noticed the change. He wasn't the same in interviews, his laughter felt forced, his eyes distant. He began writing darker lyrics, songs about lies, knives in the back, the cost of love. Fans thought it was just creative expression. They didn't know he was bleeding into his music. Still, he tried to hold it together. He confronted her gently at first. She denied everything. Tears, excuses, promises, the whole script of a guilty heart trying to rewrite the truth. For a moment, he wanted to believe her again. But once a seed of doubt is planted, it grows wild. Then came the night that changed everything. He was supposed to be out of town for a gig, but he canceled last minute. Something inside him told him to stay. The house felt too quiet, too still. His phone buzzed with a message from a friend. "You might want to check home." It was nearly midnight when he pulled into the driveway. The lights were still on. A car, not his, parked outside. His heartbeat quickened, every instinct screaming what his mind refused to accept. He walked to the door, each step heavier than the last. The air felt thick, the kind of silence that hums before a storm. Inside, he heard whispers, laughter that didn't belong to him. And then he saw it. The woman he loved. The woman he defended, wrote songs for, swore would never betray him. And beside her, the friend he'd trusted with his life. Everything inside him broke in that moment. The anger, the sadness, the disbelief. Time froze. She screamed his name. The man stumbled, trying to explain, but there were no words left that could fix what they destroyed. He had walked into the truth, raw, ugly, undeniable. What happened next depends on who you ask. Some say he snapped, shouted, threw things. Others say he turned to leave, ready to walk away forever. But one thing is certain, within minutes, the sound of a gun shattered the night. When the police arrived, all that remained was a scene that no one could make sense of. A man who had everything, fame, money, love, now gone in a blur of betrayal and rage. And as the world woke to the headlines the next morning, everyone had the same question on their lips. How did a love story that began in music end in tragedy? Because sometimes, the loudest heartbreaks happen in silence. The morning after that fateful night, the world woke up to chaos. News outlets scrambled for information. Bloggers, gossip pages, and fans flooded social media with one burning question: what really happened last night?
A few things we do want to clarify. I never said that she set him up. We told the story. The story as we learned it in court, after court, through detectives. The social media took the black and white and came to with their own conclusion of what happened. So don't blame social media and what's actually portrayed as the truth that we kept a secret to hide behind that. And at the end of the day, her family, his family, will never, ever feel the way that we feel because they didn't lose a child. If you don't know what it's like to be heartbroken every single day, you can't judge me. You can't judge his father. We hold each other up every single day. When we wake up, he goes to work and he'll send me a message and say, I want to encourage you today. It's those things that keep me going each day. As a parent, you should never have to bury your child and then have to bury your child and have to deal with the pain after you bury your child. When people make fun of somebody else's death, God has his own vengeance. That's not a vengeance for me. That's not a vengeance for him, and that's not a vengeance for our angel. God will handle his own vengeance. God knows exactly what happened, exactly what the intentions were, and exactly what the expectations were. I'm not here to judge anyone. So no matter what she says about me or my family, it's irrelevant. Words, when we grew up, my mother always told me words don't hurt you. Your words will never hurt me. What you did do that hurt me was you took something that was important, which was my son. So you can say whatever you want to say. You can never give me back what I brought into this world. And then to laugh it off, you and whoever else, I want you to understand, and I want to say this clearly, it's not a game. It's not a game. It's only two people in this world that I wish this pain on. Two. And I have friends and I have enemies. You can be my enemy and I still wouldn't wish this type of pain on you. But there are two people. And those two people are the murderer. I wish every day that I go to bed that when she wakes up, she feels this pain. Because she will never understand the pain that a mother has to bury. She'll never understand that until she goes through it. She gets to see her son. She gets to call her son. She gets to put money on his commissary. She gets to see him in 15 years or however many years when he comes home. So she'll never understand my pain. The only other person is her mom. The reason why her mom needs to experience this pain is because as a mother, you can't justify you can't make light of what your child did. And until you experience one of your children being buried, you're never going to understand my pain. You're never going to understand my purpose because it hasn't happened to you. Right now, your only focus is to protect your child, not realizing your child puts other people in a situation to lose their child. So I don't expect you to feel my pain. But one day, when you do, whether you admit it or not, you'll say, I understand how she felt and why she felt that way. Until then, you'll never understand the pain that we experience. So again, I personally want to thank everybody that has reached out. My God, the support, the state's attorney, the support of people calling in is unbelievable. Unbelievable. The detectives knew what they were dealing with.
The story broke like wildfire. The rising star, the street poet turned celebrity, had allegedly caught his girlfriend and best friend in a shocking betrayal. But no one knew what followed. Some said he stormed out. Others whispered that things turned violent. What was certain, though, was that his life and his legacy had changed forever. Police tape covered the once glamorous home that had been the backdrop of their love story. Neighbors spoke in hushed tones. Cameras flashed from every corner. The air reeked of tragedy, of something that had gone too far. But before the headlines and hashtags, there was still a man, broken, disoriented, trying to process what had just happened. When he walked into that house and saw them together, his world didn't just shatter, it disintegrated. Every moment they had shared replayed in his mind. The first kiss, the long nights, the promises whispered in the dark. Now they felt like lies stitched together with cruelty. He didn't speak at first. He just stood there, frozen. The woman he loved looked at him with wide, terrified eyes, and his best friend scrambled for words, guilt etched across his face. Bro, it's not what you think. But it was exactly what he thought. He clenched his fists, the veins in his neck throbbing. His mind screamed 1,000 thoughts at once. Hit him, leave, scream, cry, do something. But his body betrayed him. He couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. She tried to explain. It was a mistake. I didn't mean for this to happen. But how do you accidentally destroy someone's trust? How do you call betrayal a mistake? He felt rage boiling inside, not just at her or his friend, but at himself, for believing that love could save him, for thinking fame would protect him from heartbreak. He turned and walked out of the room. The air was cold, biting. The silence that followed was louder than any argument could ever be. He got into his car and drove. No destination, no sense of time. Just pain and motion. 4 hours he drove through the city that once celebrated him, the same streets where kids rapped his lyrics and fans waved his posters. But now, every corner reminded him of her. Every song on the radio echoed his own heartbreak back at him. He ended up at the old neighborhood, parking near the basketball court where he used to freestyle as a teen. The court was empty now, the echoes of laughter long gone. He sat there in the car, gripping the steering wheel, shaking. He replayed the messages in his mind. The proof, the images, the betrayal. He thought about all the people who told him fame changes people. Maybe it wasn't fame that changed them. Maybe it just exposed who they truly were. Meanwhile, news began to spread. A close neighbor had seen him leaving the house that night, looking distraught. Someone recorded a short clip, headlights flashing, his car speeding away. Within hours, the clip went viral. Something's not right, fans commented. He looked broken. By the afternoon, #pray his was trending. Rumors swirled. Cheating, a breakup, even violence. Everyone wanted the story. No one wanted the truth. Back at his house, police officers gathered evidence, while his girlfriend sat on the stairs crying uncontrollably. His friend had disappeared, refusing to answer calls. The betrayal was complete. She had no one left to defend her, and he had no reason left to forgive. He didn't speak publicly for weeks. No interviews. No posts. Just silence. But then, one night, a new track dropped unexpectedly on his YouTube channel. It wasn't promoted, it wasn't announced, it just appeared. The thumbnail was black and white. The title was simple, Loyalty Dies Young. The beat was haunting, slow, heavy, emotional. And when he started to rap, it wasn't performance anymore. It was confession. She said she'd ride till the wheels fell off, but she left before the car even started. I built a kingdom out of pain, and she burned it while I guarded. Fans were stunned. Every lyric felt like a dagger dipped in truth. He talked about betrayal, about friends who smiled in your face but whispered behind your back, about love that promised forever but couldn't survive temptation. The song went viral within hours, millions of views, thousands of comments. Bro, you can feel his pain in every line. Who hurt him this bad? This isn't music anymore. It's therapy. But behind the scenes, the storm was far from over. She saw the song too. The lyrics hit her like a mirror, reflecting every secret she tried to bury. She tried to reach him, call him, beg for forgiveness, but he blocked her everywhere. To him, she was a ghost, someone who existed in the past tense. Still, she couldn't stay silent. In a desperate move, she posted her own side of the story on Instagram Live. Through tears, she told thousands of viewers, "I made a mistake, but I didn't deserve to be destroyed online. He's making me out to be a monster." The comments were brutal. "You cheated. What did you expect? He gave you everything. Clout chasing won't fix your guilt." The live ended in tears. And while she cried on camera, he sat in a dark room, watching silently, expressionless. To him, her words meant nothing. She wasn't crying because she lost him. She was crying because she lost the world that came with him. Over the next few weeks, the media turned the scandal into a circus. Every gossip site had a headline, every YouTuber had a breakdown video. But no one really knew what was happening behind the scenes. He began to spiral, not into violence, but into obsession. He couldn't stop replaying what happened. He'd scroll through her pictures, read old texts, listen to her voicemails just to feel something again. He wasn't angry anymore. He was haunted. He started seeing her everywhere. In crowds, in dreams, in the faces of strangers. Sometimes, he'd swear he could hear her whispering his name. That's when the hunter-prey dynamic truly began, but this time, he wasn't the hunter. He was the one being hunted by memories, guilt, and heartbreak. One night, he returned to that same house, now empty, cold, stripped of life. The walls that once echoed laughter now felt suffocating. He stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the spot where it all ended. In his hand, he held her bracelet, the same one she wore in every photo, the one he had bought for her on their first anniversary. He dropped it to the floor. The sound was small, but it echoed louder than thunder. For him, that was closure, or at least the closest thing he'd ever get. Just when the story seemed to fade, another video surfaced. A leaked clip, security camera footage from that night. It showed him entering the house, standing frozen, then storming out. No violence, no shouting. Just silence. Fans flooded back online, defending him, praising his restraint. He walked away instead of destroying everything, one commenter wrote. That's strength. But not everyone saw it that way. Some critics accused him of using heartbreak for clout, of monetizing pain. That criticism hit him hard. They didn't see the sleepless nights, the therapy sessions, the scars behind the lyrics. Still, he didn't fight back. He just kept making music, darker, rawer, more personal than ever. Each track peeled another layer off his soul. He became the voice of heartbreak, the sound of silent pain. His concerts turned into confessionals. Fans crying, holding up signs saying, "You helped me survive." The hunter had finally learned. Sometimes, chasing truth only leaves you with more pain. And though the world still whispered his story, he was finally learning to live with the silence. The night of the final reckoning wasn't loud. There were no cameras, no crowds, no flashing lights. Just a man, alone, staring at his reflection in a dark window. A reflection that no longer looked like him. The pain, the betrayal, the sleepless nights had carved deep lines into his face. He didn't look like the rapper who once commanded stages, whose lyrics had given voice to millions. He looked like a ghost who had forgotten how to live. For weeks, he had been avoiding the truth. He told himself he'd moved on, that the music had saved him. But the silence that followed each concert screamed otherwise. Every time the lights went out, the loneliness came crawling back. Fame had filled his pockets, but emptiness had taken residence in his heart. One evening, as rain tapped gently against the studio window, he opened his laptop and scrolled through old photos, the two of them laughing at dinner, her hand wrapped around his arm, both of them wearing the kind of smiles that made forever sound possible. He paused at one picture, the night of their anniversary, when she surprised him with a private dinner. He remembered how she'd said, "You'll never have to question my love." He smiled bitterly, because in the end, that was the biggest lie of all. He closed the laptop and exhaled deeply. The studio lights flickered, the hum of the speakers filled the room. And for the first time since everything happened, he spoke out loud, not to anyone, just to himself. "I forgive you," he whispered. The words felt heavy. They didn't come from peace, they came from exhaustion. He realized that holding on to anger was like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. He had built his identity around his pain, but pain was never meant to be a home, only a lesson. So he did what he knew best. He turned his confession into art. That night, he started writing his most vulnerable song yet, "The Night I Let Go." There were no metaphors, no layers of production, no distractions. Just a man and his truth. "I gave you love, you gave me lessons. I gave you my heart, you gave me confessions. But in the ashes of what we burned, I found the strength I never earned." Every line bled honesty. Every note carried closure. He wasn't rapping for fame anymore, he was healing out loud. When the song dropped 2 weeks later, it wasn't announced. No marketing, no teaser, no flashy video. Just the music. Yet within hours, it went viral. People didn't hear a rapper. They heard a human being. Fans flooded the comments with stories of their own heartbreaks, forgiveness, and survival. "This saved me," one wrote. "I didn't know men could hurt like this," said another. "This is the sound of healing." But the real closure came when she heard it. She sat alone in a friend's apartment, headphones in, tears falling freely. The song wasn't an attack, it wasn't revenge. It was grace, the kind she knew she didn't deserve. She texted him, just one line, "I'm sorry. Truly." He saw the message but didn't reply. Not because he was cold, but because there was nothing left to say. He had already said everything through his music. He leaned back in his chair, eyes closed, and let the silence wrap around him like peace. For the first time in months, the silence didn't feel heavy, it felt freeing. The media tried to reignite the flames. They wanted more drama, more conflict, more controversy. But he refused to give them that. He had lived his story in public for too long. It was time to live in private. In the months that followed, he changed. Not drastically, not overnight, but in quiet, subtle ways. He stopped checking her social media. He started going for walks without his phone. He reconnected with his family, with the friends who stuck by him when the world turned its back. He even began mentoring younger artists, teaching them that fame without peace is a curse. The hunter within him had died. The man who wanted revenge, who wanted answers, had finally laid his weapons down. What remained was something purer, a survivor. He began speaking at events about mental health and emotional resilience, sharing how he almost let heartbreak destroy him. People listened, not because he was famous, but because he was real. And then came the final act, the full circle moment. A year later, at an award show he almost didn't attend, his name was called. Song of the Year, "The Night I Let Go." The crowd erupted. Cameras flashed. As he walked to the stage, he wasn't thinking about the fame, the money, or even the betrayal. He was thinking about that night, the night everything ended, and somehow, everything began again. He stood there, holding the trophy, and said only this: "Pain doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. Sometimes, the worst thing that happens to you is the beginning of the best version of you." The room went silent. Then applause filled the air, not for the rapper, but for the man who turned his heartbreak into hope. After the ceremony, he stepped outside into the cool night air, trophy in hand, and looked up at the sky. For the first time in a long while, he smiled. A real smile, not one for the cameras. He wasn't thinking about revenge, or betrayal, or even forgiveness. He was thinking about peace, that quiet, elusive thing he'd been chasing for so long. And in that moment, he realized something profound. He didn't need to find peace. He had become it. Later that night, he posted one simple message to his fans. "If you're going through hell, keep walking. The fire doesn't last forever. Trust me, I've been there." The post went viral. Not because it was flashy, but because it was true. In the end, that was his redemption. Not fame, not revenge, but truth.
Sometimes timing is everything, right? Timing is everything. So we decide to celebrate Tyree's life, his legacy. You feel like you have to defend yourself. And in defending yourself, you actually tell some of the truths that was never told before. And what you have to realize, you should never forget what you say or do. Because one thing is, when you're honest, the truth is the truth. Whether it's now or 2 years later, you're never going to forget what you say. When you're not honest, you end up telling on yourself. And you end up telling the truth. So whatever that may be, I'm going to pray for you. Because you need it. And at the end of the day, what's coming, you deserve. Now, anybody that knows me, and nobody can tell you no different, they can do an interview, 2, 4, 20 of them. I don't care what you do. One thing you'll never be able to do in those interviews is pull any black and white on what Tyree's mother, ever said in a disrespectful manner to anybody. I always kept a clear conscience for the support of my son in his memory. I never, ever, whether I felt it or not, whether I believed it or not, I never, ever called you out your name, disrespected you, said anything negative about you, ever. And I don't have no reason to lie. I'm 45 years old. Now, ask me today, no, I don't like you. Now I watch what has happened. I absolutely don't like you. And I understand why you felt like I shouldn't have liked you. Because you always felt in your guilty conscience, you always felt that his family didn't like you. Now I see why. And I don't. And the world knows it now. Prior to this moment, I never felt that way. But now that you showed me who I always knew you were, I'm letting you know I don't. And I understand why you will have to lie and portray that my family is this evil people that we were never were to you. You live with us. You didn't live with your parents. You didn't live with your family. You lived with us. We took care of you. When you had nobody else to take care of you, we never turned our back on you when you had nobody else. Let's be absolutely clear. Your mother wasn't there. I didn't meet your mother to 2 years after you was with Tyree. If we're telling the truth, let's tell it. You were in my house. You ate my food. You laid in my bed. And then to say that this family who took you in as their own are these evil people, you're absolutely crazy. And I hope that you get the help that you absolutely deserve, because you need help. You need a lot of help. Because in your mind, what you believed about us is what we should have believed about you. And that's what you have shown us. You've shown us all of these mean things that you and your family have portrayed against my family is how we should have felt. How we should have felt. And thank you for showing me that. Because sometimes it takes time to show people who you absolutely are. But one thing is, once you show me once, you don't never have to show me again. Ever. Because I understand exactly what's in front of me.